Alright, here's the deal, because I'm super smart. So I didn't have the mic on for the entire intro explaining, but here's essentially what's going on. The interior for the Supra is blue. I don't like it. We're going to be changing that to black. That's all you need to know. Back to where I actually turned the mic on. Now we are going to be transitioning that blue to a black and a gray, as well as making some upgrades along the way, including the center console, some interior lighting, and the steering wheel, which will be its own episode. The smartest thing I did with my old Supra was keep these two seats, because A, they're just incredibly comfortable, they're electronic, there are no tears in either of them, they are dirty, but not only are they in near perfect condition, they're also gray, which is a very neutral color. Although these ones are in good condition, the blue is just too much for me. So how can we fix all this blue then? Spray paint. Now I have spray painted a couple cars interiors in the past, including my first Supra and my brother's Mustang, and I've gotten some pretty mixed reviews. Now here's the biggest lesson that I've learned. Don't do the carpets. The carpets, it just doesn't quite work well enough. It comes out over time. Now my first Supra, I didn't do the carpets because they were already gray. The Mustang I did because they were brown, and you know what? It's just not worth it for the time it takes for the paint to off-gas completely. But the trim, absolute yes. The biggest question that I've got about spray painting interiors is, does it last? And the answer is yes, it does. Even on my brother's Mustang, I spray painted the steering wheel in the areas that he touches every day, and it hasn't even rubbed off a little bit. And my old Supra, I would wash it on a regular basis, scrubbing the interior where I had painted, and it would clean up just fine, never flaking, never chipping. There are some tricks though that you need to know in order to get a long-lasting finish. So first step that we need to do is get the old seats out. Who's ready to do something controversial? Because I sure am. We are going to rip out just about everything from the inside. We're going to rip out the center console, the door cards are going to come off, detach the seats, take off the trim in the back, because we are going to be turning this all black, and in order to do so, we need to pull it out, clean it, and then paint it black. Who wants to go swimming? We are running low on light, but we have all these pieces out, and here's why we're pulling it out instead of not doing it just inside the car. Now there's two reasons. One, as you can imagine, it's a lot easier to paint everything with it out. You don't need to tape off anything on the inside, and you can make sure to get all these areas that are a little bit hidden. Like in these creases here, we can get the top side, things like this we can get. It just makes life easier. The second reason why we pulled everything out is that I have not cleaned the inside of this Supra at all, and being someone who used to detail for a living, I want to make sure that this car is clean up to my specifications. So I don't want there to be any mystery dirt hiding in the back the whole time while we're working on the outside of the car. I want to get the inside cleaned up to the way I want it and done. But now we're going to take all these pieces inside, and we're going to spend the rest of the night cleaning these up so that way they could be dry by tomorrow, so we could just go straight into painting them black. Panels all cleaned up, we have two more areas we need to address before we could actually spray some paint on. Let me show you them. One is the center console, and you could absolutely see why it needs to be refinished. There's no way we're gonna ever be able to paint this over and it look even decently good or last, because the paint will just flake off and you're not fixing these holes. The second is the same thing on this door rest. Just this armrest leather is completely torn up. There's a hole there, so we need to rip this off, replace it with new leather, and then we'll be good to fix the rest. Now the shift cover is going to be easy. We already have a replacement piece of leather that's purpose built to fit over this. So all we need to do is just take off off these screws, pull off this plastic part, put this one up on top underneath, tuck it back in, seat these screws over top, and then that is all we need to do. Now for this one, it'll be a little more difficult. We're going to need to cut this area out a bit, put some sort of support on the back here, probably just cardboard because it doesn't need to be strong and it's not getting wet or anything, and then recover this section with a piece of leather. So let's set up the camera and get going. Whoever's managing the weather, I really need to have a talk with them because I thought it was going to be warmer today, but it's not. But either way, it's time to spray paint, so I'm excited. We got every piece out and it's time to start spraying them all black. Now we're using this automotive primer to paint it. Any primer will work. The deal is you want something that's going to be a primer specific so that way it'll bond the best, and I prefer something with a flat black. Gloss of any color just doesn't look good. You may think like, oh, it's going to look great and all shiny, but it actually just looks really tacky. So we're going with a flat matte primer over every single one of these pieces. You know, I'm not that good at counting. I thought 2 spray cans was gonna be enough, and it wasn't enough, so I had to go buy 6 more. I just finished spraying every last piece that we have, the door cards, all the other pieces of trim, and even the front dash, which I forgot to mention we were doing, but had to leave it in because I'm not pulling the whole dash out to do it. That's just too much work for the amount of prep time that it would take in comparison. Now at this point, if you wanted to get the stuff back in the car, you'd wait at least a couple hours before you putting it in. I'm gonna wait overnight to put it in because of 2 reasons. One, I only have about an hour and a half left in my day that I could work, which would mean that I'd have to rush putting the pieces back in, which I don't want to do because very likely that I would get fingerprints on it, which wouldn't be good. And in addition to that, I haven't cleaned up any of the inside of the car, like the metal underneath, and I want to do that before I put it all back in. And I guess that kind of explains the second reason as well, because the second reason was the fingerprints, not just the time constraint. So we're gonna wait till tomorrow, so that way everything is completely dry. And if you are ever thinking, should I put it in now or should I wait? Absolutely, I think you should wait, because if you don't, then you could ruin the process and have to do it again. So quick transition. It's the next day, so it's time to put everything back in the cart. Everything is completely dried. It's cured enough to the point where we're not gonna get any fingerprints on anything embedded in the paint. So let's put everything back in the car now. Oh man, I really feel like I should be making a joke right now, but I'm happy with this. Like, come on, man, this is just so cool. Just seeing everything black it brings back memories, honestly, especially with these seats as well, and seeing the center console being that red trim, and we put one on the handbrake as well. And I installed the sport and normal mode button. This doesn't do anything on this car, but I took it from my last Supra, and this car didn't have anything in there, so I put that in just because I wanted to. But man, this just makes me feel like it's my old Supra again. My first one that was my first project car and made me fall in love with working on cars. Just the gray seats with the black. I really just want to go take this for a drive right now. Unfortunately, I can't because it's not registered, because there's issues with that we're going to sort out. But I'm just so happy with this. It's a little hard to tell with the glare, and I apologize, but the door cards being black as well. I didn't add any accents to these like I did in my previous car, simply because I just wasn't sure if I wanted to yet. So I held off, and I could do that later. Same with trim pieces on the inside as well. In addition, I put in my old floor mats from my old Supra, and they say Supra on them, which I think is super cool, pun intended. And even with these seats, it has just a faint enough smell from my old Supra that it's just bringing back all sorts of memories. I am so happy with this right now. But we're not done. Look at this right here. Oh, that just out of focus for no reason. My friend John gave me this a while back, and I've had it for about 2 months and never put it on. These are interior lights, and I'm really excited to put these on. Now, we did this with the 3000 GT, but we're going to do this with the Supra as the final part for this interior video, because I think it's just going to add the perfect amount of ambience for inside the car. So let's go ahead and quickly get these hooked up. That is just so cool. I mean, come on. Come on, this was a good episode. I'm happy with this one. This is one where the results are just, I know like sometimes you guys are just like, oh man, I just want to see crazy wide bodies and stuff, but this one was just satisfying. So even if this video doesn't do too well, I'm so happy with what happened. This was great. But on that note, this is where we're ending the video. If you guys want to pick up any merchandise, check in the link down below. There's cool things like Supra mugs. Mine came in for myself today, and wow, it's cool. I would show you, but I kind of left that at someone else's house already, so yeah. But check out the link down below if you want to get yourself a sweatshirt, a shirt, or at least just take a look even if you don't want to get anything. That's as much advertising as we're getting today. Please like and subscribe if you consider doing that. It helps me out quite a lot. I will see you guys next time. Adios.